Whereas I think in any real civilization worth its salt, there are certain subaltern peoples that we would step in, and people that aren't responsible for governing their own lives, to say that, well, don't they deserve better than this freewheeling existence, the sandbox existence in which people can operate quote unquote freely, but leads to all sorts of negative externalities and outcomes. And it just seems that there's no cohesion to anything. It's like we're this like drop-in Sims simulator existence where, you just vote for the same mainstream parties. There's no real political choice. And even there's no real choice in terms of living your own life. It's just, well, you can consume freely and that's it. And there's no and so I think, for example, even in fiction, why the post-apocalyptic, I'm going to do a solo podcast. The sort of post-apocalyptic zombie phenomenon is such a powerful thing because it speaks into a particularly American psyche of the frontier. But
yes,
it's like we still live in a frontier, but the frontier is closed to us, and the frontier is our own individual existence. And there's no real guideposts. There's no real authority or spiritual or cultural authority that tells you the good life is such and such. And it really is alien to even Athenian democracy of the past. And it's like this sort of the best metaphor I could use is sandbox existence. And that's the sort of when I was reading your piece, that's what crystallized in my mind. And I wonder if you could speak to that for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one interesting point that you did make there about patronage is that I think that you're right. And when it comes to the contemporary art world, I think that I know, and I've been exposed to so many great artists who are still alive.
Mm-hmm.
They're great. The thing is that the reason why they're not admitted into the repertoire of great artists, and why that has stopped, and it has stayed so static since, say, 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe could be a bit later in visual art, but
probably 60s with pop art. Yeah, Andy Warhol was last. Yeah,
but in any case, why has that canon stayed so static? Because the answer is not that there's some kind of mythical Spenglerian ether where creativity has gone and disappeared and been swallowed up. No, it's that there is no mechanism. There's no cultural mechanism where we admit any more icons of meaning.
Right.
There is no mechanism where someone goes through some kind of process, is rubber stamped by these institutions, and is admitted into the canon and knocks someone else out from, and that's just gone. There's no, in a sense, the cream doesn't rise to the top.
The artist is the content creator that must survive and live on their own and sell themselves and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And but their greatness is out there. But yes, that's right. But that was a minor point. But I think that what you have with the YIMBYs is, I think that they're just the most deranged. It's similar to the phenomenon of MMT, although they hate the MMT people. But that's
what's the MMT for those who don't know?
Modern monetary theory.
Oh,
like UBI and all that. But essentially, what these people are, and I think it's the same thing for MMT. MMT being that, why don't we go further with fiat currency than we go? And with YIMBYs, it's like, well, why don't we just let in a bunch of immigrants? Why don't we just build way more and just go full in and
walkable cities,
psychotically go full in with the concept of economic growth? And in a sense, they don't get in power, the YIMBYs. They don't quite get in power, but they get close to it, because they believe in the ruling neoliberal paradigm.
Yes.
It's a rational paradigm, but they take the precepts of it just a little bit too seriously, whereas real politicians are always held back in check by various lobbies and various practicalities which prevent you from going in and being a full psychotic foot soldier. And so what you get with people like Hanania and others is they want to have some kind of edgier version where you take mainstream precepts, you add in your own idiosyncratic spin, and you try and take it further, and then you mock people who are dissidents. You mock people who are radical enough to oppose the system because they're so confident about its basic rationality.
Yeah.
They want to be in charge of it. They want influence within it, but they don't actually understand that the system is irrational. It is broken, and there is no level of productivity hacking or anything that you could do to get it to function. It is fundamentally a dysfunctional system, but it's a dysfunctional system which has to be kept within a certain bounds, otherwise it would break. Like with the MMT people, if you just sped up the creation of debt so fast, then you would just tip the system over into disequilibrium and break it. And so we are in a precarious situation. We're in a vulnerable situation, but nobody in power is willing to go through and take their ideas so seriously that they would wreck the system in a sense ahead of time, ahead of schedule, which is what these people would do.
Right.
But that's kind of my opinion about them. Is they believe that carrying capacity can be abolished. They believe that that efficiency can solve every conceivable problem, and they all have their own individual edgy takes. Like, let's go in even harder in various foreign policy adventures, which the regime tepidly supports.
Well, they hate Russia, for example.
Yeah,
the
well,
passion.
I know,
Yeah.
but like they just want to be these kind of like foot soldiers of the status quo with their own idiosyncrasies.
Some of them have this weird deference towards the Chinese system, but they hate the Chinese themselves.
Yeah.
Because I think they can run the Chinese system better. Like, I don't know why do these people hate China as well? They used to love China. Yeah.
Well, China is a Leninist state.
Yeah.
And the elite in China, really represented by Xi Jinping, have taken a more hardline communist stance lately.
Yeah.
And that kind of hope that some kind of reformist candidate could come in and sort of ride the wave of the
like another Hu Jintao, for example.
Yeah, I mean, some kind of I don't know if Hu Jintao was a reformer. He was just a bureaucrat.
Or Deng would be another best example.
Well, I think Deng was definitely a sincere communist. I don't know. Some people have the wrong idea about him, but they maybe someone like Zhao Ziyang.
Okay, there you go. That's a good example. Yeah.
No, but they were hoping that someone like that would get in the reign, because they think the Chinese were sensible managerialists like them, but in fact they're not. In Chinese party school, you learn about Gorbachev, and you learn about the dissolution of the Soviet Union, and you learn about how you cannot do any form of political reform. Otherwise, it results in the dissolution of the one-party state. And so, no, China has taken a more hardline stance, and that's become quite obvious over the last few years with Xi Jinping. And so, Globe Twitter, it's not. It was.
They hate him.
It's.
Thank you for enjoying this clip from the paid version of the Content Minded podcast episode with Zoomer Schopenhauer. The full episode can be found on patreon.com/Giant Productions and substack.com/Gio's Content Corner. Both of those platforms are only $5 a month, where you will receive access to an archive filled with hundreds of hours of Kino content. Please like, share, subscribe, click the bell, and help keep the content renaissance alive.